I'd like to ask some additional questions on legislative proposals. One of the suggestions that Senator Klobuchar raised was legal responsibility and liability, which, as you know, is now precluded by Section 230. Let me ask each of you, would you support responsible measures like the Earn It Act, which I have proposed, to impose some legal responsibility and liability, cutting back on the immunity that Section 230 affords? Ms. Stout?
Senator, we agree at Snapchat that there should be an update to the intermediary platform liability law, CDA 230. And in fact, the last time this body addressed a reform, which was for the SESTA FOSTA, Snapchat was a company that actively participated in that and helped draft legislation. So we would welcome another opportunity, Senator, to work with you on that.
Thank you. Would you support the Earn It Act, which, as you know, Senator Graham and I have proposed, that imposes liability and affords victims the opportunity to take action against platforms that engage in child pornography and related abuses?
Of course, Senator, we completely prohibit that kind of activity, that illegal activity, and we actively look for it. And when we find it, we remove it. If you would allow me to get back to you, it's been a while since I've looked at the Earn It Act. I do recall when you and Senator Graham introduced it, but I believe that the spirit of your legislation is something we'd very much support.
Well, you had the opportunity before to say whether you supported it. So far, you haven't. Will you commit to supporting it?
Senator, again, my memory is failing me a little bit, but I do believe that the provisions in the Earn It Act were many of the provisions that we supported. So I'd be happy to come back with a more specific answer for you.
Mr. Beckham.
Thank you, Senator. We do agree that there needs to be a higher degree of accountability and responsibility for platforms, particularly as it relates to content moderation, that needs to be done in a way that allows all platforms to moderate in an appropriate and aggressive way to make sure that the kinds of content that none of us want to see on the internet or on any of our platforms is able to be removed.
Do you support changes in Section 230 to impose liability?
There absolutely can and should be changes, but again, in a way that would allow companies like ours that are good actors, that are aggressively moderating our platform in a way that we think is responsible to be able to continue to do so.
Will you support the Earn It Act?
We'd be happy. Again, we agree with the spirit of it. We'd be happy to work with you and your staff on that bill.
Well, the bill, again, was reported unanimously out of the Judiciary Committee during the last session. It hasn't changed significantly. Did you support it then?
I think the concern would be unintended consequences that would lead to hampering companies' ability to remove and police violative content on platforms.
Is that a yes or a no?
It's a maybe.
Well, so far we have two maybes. Ms. Miller?
Senator, I'm aware of a number of proposals regarding potential updates to 230, and me and my team, as well as the other teams across Google, have been involved in the conversations regarding these various proposals. I would just like to say, though, that we see 230 as the backbone of the internet, and it is what allows us to moderate content, to make sure that we are taking down content that leads to potentially eating disorders, for example, what we've been talking about here earlier, or self-harm. So we want to make sure that we continue to have protections in place so we can moderate our platforms so that they are safe and healthy for users. I am aware of the Earn It Act, and I know again that our staffs have been speaking, but I understand, I think there's still ongoing discussions regarding some portions of the proposal. But we also very much appreciate and understand the rationale as to why this was introduced, particularly around the area of child safety.
Well, again, is that a yes or a no? Do you support it?
We support the goals of the Earn It Act, but there are some details that I think are still being discussed.
Well, you know, as Senator Markey has said, this is the talk that we've seen again and again and again and again. We support the goals, but that's meaningless unless you support the legislation. And it took a fight, literally bare-knuckle fight, to get through legislation that made an exception under SESTA for liability on human trafficking. Just one small piece of reform. And I joined in the frustration felt by many of my colleagues that good intentions, support for goals, endorsement of purposes is no substitute for actual endorsement. I would ask that each and every one of you support the Earn It Act, but also other specific measures that will provide for legal responsibility. And I think I know what Ms. Miller means by the claim that Section 230 provides a backbone, but it's a backbone without any real spine right now, because all it does is afford virtually limitless immunity to the internet and to the companies that are here. I'm going to interrupt my second round and call on Senator Cruz.